Okay, and Frank, how about your siblings?
My mother had 9 kids, but one died very young. Maybe, as a matter of fact, I was only 2 months old when my brother died. His name was Joseph. Then later on, she had another boy, and she named him Joseph. But we were actually growing up with 4 boys and 4 girls.
Okay, what were their names? Starting with the oldest.
Pasquale, Flora, which was Flavia in Italian, then it was Lillian, then Rose, and then it was the one that died, his name was Joseph. And then I came, Frank. Then after that was my brother Joseph. They named him after the one that died. And then my sister Annie and my brother Anthony.
Okay.
That was 9 kids.
Now let's talk a little bit about your parents, okay? Lily, what was your parents, what was your mother's maiden name?
Soldano.
Saldana. And Frank, what was your mother's maiden name?
Lyota.
Lyota, okay. Now, Lily, were your parents born here, or did they come over from Italy?
No, they were born here.
They were, and what about their parents?
They were born in Italy.
They were from Italy?
Yes.
So actually, you were second generation American then? Okay. Frank, what about your parents? Where did they come from?
My mother was born here, and my father was born in Italy. He came here at the age of like 13 years old, and he didn't come as he came as a tourist. He didn't come as from Ellis Island or anything like that. Of course, his family had money, and he got in trouble in school. He read a book that was banned by the Catholic Church, and they threw him out of school. But he went to school till he was 13 years old. Then for some reason, I don't know why they sent him to America, but he came by himself all the way to America. But some paisano looked after him while he was on a ship coming to America.
Now, Lily, back to you. What kind of work did your parents do? Did your mother and father work?
My father was in the fish business because his family, when they came to the United States, they opened up a fish store in the Bronx. And all the men and the nephews were all in that big fish store.
So that was the major source of income, was the selling fish.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And Frank, what about your parents? Did your mother or father work?
My mother never worked. She was too busy having babies. But my father was a cement mason. And in the wintertime in New York, it's too cold to do much cement work. So we really had it rough in the wintertime. Believe me, we were so poor in the wintertime that we had nothing for Christmas. My mother sent my sister and my oldest brother out to stop a policeman and tell him that we have no food in the house. This was Christmas Eve, and we had a big family. So the policeman came to the house an hour later and checked up on everything. And when he seen how nice my mother and father was, and the conditions of the house was very clean and all that, but we were dirt poor. He came back 2.5 hours later with a load of toys for all his kids, 8 kids, plus he gave my mother some money, and I don't know, we had a terrific Christmas.
Lily, what about you? You have any special memories of living in those days back then?
Not really. We were close with our relatives. We see them a lot.
Now, did a lot of the family live in the same area?
Mm-hmm.
And you too, Frank? Did you have
Very
family?
close. We all lived on one block just about.
Right.
And my mother's sister lived maybe 2 blocks away. But everything was very close. And Christmas time and New Year's Eve, all the boys from everybody in my family had to go visit all our aunts and uncles.
Yeah,
and they all got together. All my aunts and uncles got together for the holidays, but they didn't get us because our family was too big. We couldn't fit with them. But we had to go there, and we went there, which Christmas time was a pleasure. We went there, and some of the uncles, big deal, gave us 2 cents or a nickel all for Christmas. And that's it. So that's why we were happy to go. Otherwise, us kids weren't that happy to go.
Did anybody in either of your families have a car? Did anybody drive in those days?
No.
So Lily, if you wanted to go to a movie or visit someone, how did you travel there?
We would walk.
You would walk?
Yeah.
And Frank?
We would walk too. Once in a while, they'd take a streetcar, which was a trolley car. Mm-hmm. And my mother and her sister used to go to the movies once a week to collect dishes for my sister's trousseaus. When you go to a movie, you got free. You got a cup. The next week, you got a saucer and all that stuff. And sometimes I had to go to movies with my mother and my aunt. I had to escort them home at 12 o'clock at night. And I was only maybe 8 years old.
So the kind of house you lived in, you said before, Frank, it was railroad rooms.
Yes.
So you want to explain that a little bit more?
Well, railroad rooms are 4 rooms with no partition. You can look through the whole 4 rooms. Some of the bedrooms maybe had a wall 4 feet, and then the rest was all open. And when you have 4 boys and 4 girls, it was kind of rough.
And Lily, was your house the same way?
No. No.
What was yours like? Describe it.
Well, we had regular bedrooms and the
Box
kitchen, and we had one house was very nice, but after you got in the kitchen, then you came to a smaller room, and it was like a part of the kitchen, okay? If you had company, you sat there. But after that, the rest of the 3 rooms, you could not sit in them because they were ice cold. The heat just didn't go there. And
Did you have central heating or?
No,
well,
they didn't
no,
have
we used to have the coal.
cold water flat. That's what
Okay.
they call them.
And they would,
Was it coal?
coal, yeah.
Yeah.
The coal.
As a matter of fact, Jack, let me tell you something. My oldest brother used to give me $0.05 a week to warm up his side of the bed because that's how cold the bed was when you got into the bed.
So when you had that many kids in your family, where did everybody sleep?
3 boys together in my family and 3 sisters together in the other one. And the other 2, by the time my oldest brother got married at 18 years old, so basically I don't even remember him in the house too much. And my sisters, but the 3 sisters and my 3 brothers lived, and my youngest brother was handicapped. He was retarded, and he slept in the same room with my mother and father.
And what brother was that?
Anthony. And
And-
he was the last kid, and I don't know, but it was a shame. He was always sick. The first 5 years, he never even was home once for Christmas. Never was home. He was always in the hospital.
Now, Lily, what about you? Where you were all girls.
All girls. Yeah.
So what were the
4 of
sleeping
us-
arrangements?
4 of us, 4 girls slept together, and the youngest one usually stayed with my mother. In my mother's room, they had a nice little, either if she was small enough to look still the crib, or otherwise a day bed, a small day bed. And then she'd wind up sleeping with my mother and father.
Now,
And
what
that
about
went out for quite a while.
what about entertaining at home? What did you do at home? Did you have?
We had radio.
Okay. So what did you listen to on the radio in those days?
Oh, we all lay down on the bed. We used to call it Lux Theater maybe at night. I think it was Lux Theater on a
That's all right,
Monday.
Lily, it's okay.
Yeah, Mrs.
On a
Comes
Monday
in.
night at 9 o'clock, the stars, Hollywood stars, they put on a show from a movie.
Right.
And I remember laying on a bed with my 2 sisters and my 2 brothers, and we all 5 of us on the bed listened to it. That was a big. That was like going to the movies. That was a big thing.
And so each of you had a radio in your own home, though?
Oh yes, we had.
And you, Lily, did you have a radio
Yes.
too?
And could I tell you something? We had, when the relief people come to check on you, we had to hide the radio. And my mother had to hide her wedding,
yeah.
if she had any rings. You had to hide them. You couldn't, if you had anything, they wanted you to hock them and get money before they give you anything. Not like today, they have food stamps and everything, they get everything so easy. We had to struggle to get it. We had to get permission to get a phone in our house. The good old days.
Now, Lily, what about you? What did you like to listen to on the radio?
Lux.
Lux?
Yeah.
Now
And the
what?
Cantor Show.
Yes.
Yes, my mother loved that.
Now, Frank said they all laid in the bed and listened to the radio. How about in your family? How did
We
you all
used to
listen
sit
to the
on
radio?
chairs.
Oh, you were upscale.
We didn't have enough chairs. Don't forget we had no
Yeah.
living room.
Oh.
Everything was just, we had my mother's bedroom, we had a bedroom for my sisters, bedroom from boy, and we had a big kitchen.
Mhm.
That was everything. The big kitchen, we ate there. We had a big round table with the whole family, 9 people,
Yeah.
ate together. We had 1 bathroom. We had hot water only in the kitchen in the sink. No hot water in the bathroom. And the only heat, we did have a heat, to make the hot water for the house, we had a hot water stove. And that gave a little heat, but in the wintertime it was so cold, you could feel the cold air coming in through the window. And to take there's no such thing as a shower, we took a bath. And when I got out of the bed, the water was black, or should I say dark brown.
Now, what about other entertainment? Did you go to the movies very often? Because I know movies were very popular back then as a form of entertainment.
We did.
How much was a movie? Do you remember how much it cost?
About 10 cents.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And did you have favorite movies that you went to with your sisters or your friends?
I can't think.
What was the did you have a movie theater like in your neighborhood that you always,
yeah.
do you remember the name of it?
The Kadima.
Yeah, it was on Pickett Avenue.
Yeah, Pickett Avenue.
Uh-huh.
And
Girls
the
didn't go to
embassy-
movies like boys.
The embassy was a more elite.
Uh-huh.
My mother, that's the only place my mother would go. She'd save her money up, and then she would take me to go movie together
Uh-huh.
in the afternoon. Before.
And
the
do you remember
early-
movies that you saw back then that you enjoyed?
Well, what's the one with? I can't.
There's
it's
too
a
many
tough-
movies.
too
Jay
many.
loved
Yeah,
them
but
all.
the main ones were the. What's the one that's been on this week? He was playing the.
Well, you like Gone with the Wind, right?
Yeah, but the one with.
But he's talking about when you were a kid, and that's.
Yes,
you know
I
what I'm
was a
talking
kid.
about. A lot of them were Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that
girls
was
used to
it.
enjoy it.
But what was Gregory Peck? When he
Gregory
was the
Peck
first.
wasn't big when you were a kid.
Oh yes.
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
Believe me, that was when you were married. He's talking about when you were young. When I was young, we went to see a lot of cowboy movies. There was,
Not us. We
there was
hated
one
that.
show you paid a nickel. You got three movies, 2 cartoons, 1 chapter, and what do you call it, the news of the day. You for a nickel.
Now that was your major form of entertainment then, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we went in the afternoon, and at night we went to another movie for 10 cents on a Sunday. We used to go to 2 movies on a Sunday. And I remember on December 7th, I was 14 years old. We come out of the movie, and there's a lot of commotion going on in our neighborhood because we had a big subway station there, plus an elevator station. And they used to get a transfer from the elevator to go down steps into the subway. And they used to be like, every time the train come in would be like 100 people would get off the train and go down. And that was when everybody was very sad and upset over December 7th, Pearl Harbor. And we found out about Pearl Harbor, and you want to know something? 90% of the people never heard of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
I never heard of it. I was 14, but I was still young. But a lot of grown-ups never heard of Pearl Harbor.
Now, did either one of you have family or relatives who served in World War II?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Any
Mom
sisters or brothers?
No, not sisters.
No. As a matter of fact, my brother was in the Army for about 4 months. And he got all the benefits.
Which brother?
My brother Patty. He got all the benefits from the GI. That's how he bought his house in Long Island. Otherwise, he couldn't even afford to buy it under the GI Bill. But how they got him out? Because he had 2 kids. He shouldn't have never been drafted. With 2 kids. At that time, it was if you had 2 kids, you didn't get drafted.
Now, I got a question for you, and I want you to think about this. In your neighborhood was almost the center of your life, right? Everything, you hardly ever left your neighborhood.
Right.
So how did news flow in the neighborhood? How did you get information? You know, like today we have internet and movies and TV and telephones. If something happened in the neighborhood, how did you hear about it?
It's everything about radio. We used to hear everything from the radio. Radio is big. Radio is just as big as television is today. Radio is very big, and plus the neighbors, all the neighbors were always out, especially in the summertime. Everybody was out on the stoops. You could see 6 housewives on every stoop in the evening.
So actually the news traveled from person to person.
And we used to hang out on corners. The men hanged out on corners, the women stood in there on their property, on the stoops. And we used to hang out on corners. 50 kids was like nothing. There were so many kids that we lived on a big city block. There was so many kids on this block that half of the block was the gang, the other half was another gang. We used to have fights together. Christmas trees, you carved them down and charged us down the street with the Christmas trees and tried to knock them out. We used to.
Is that right, Lily? You
And
agree with
that's
him?
true.
Is that how it was?
That's the truth.
Not where we live.
And
no.
when I was a kid, they called me a wildcat. I was
Whoa.
one of the wild kids.
Well, let's hear Lily's perspective on this. So,
It was
how-
mostly family. That's what it was, mostly family. And my mother's on my mother's side, they live in New York, in the city, New York. So it would be if it was arranged that way. Christmas would be with my mother's side. There was my Aunt Laura, her husband, her children, and then Grandma and Grandpa, and whoever didn't have a place to go would be there. So that way, or otherwise, it was just because Aunt Mary, that was my mother's sister, and her husband and her kids, we used to get together because the other ones didn't like us because we were too poor. That's the truth. They had a beautiful house, it was beautiful at that time, and they would have all their side for Christmas, but they had big families, you know. so
now,
you could-
generally speaking, would you say you had, even though you were poor, did you have a happy childhood?
Very happy.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
house, anyway.
Yeah, both of you.
Yeah.
The sisters and brothers were very close, and you'd be surprised. I remember my sister used to take me at night in the evening, sit on the bed, and let me sing, and they would let me sing. I didn't sing for anything, I didn't sing good, but I remember those things. My sister Lilly would love to hear me sing. She made me sound like I was good, but I wasn't.
Okay, now we're going to talk about school days. Okay, so Lily, where did you go to school, grammar school?
224, that was down the old mill
So PS 224 in Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn, yeah.
Okay, and did you graduate from grammar school?
Actually, I was always sick, so it took a long time for me to graduate. It only went up to 6th grade, and then in the same school you can go from 7 to 9. And I got to about 8, and that was it because I was always sick.
Now, did you go to high school after that?
No.
A little.
That was
The same
elementary
thing. I
school.
was always sickly.
So you never went to high school?
Not finished. I would go to maybe two. So
2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Do you remember the name of the high school?
64.
It was junior high school, 64. was the name.
64.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Okay, and that was the extent of your education?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And Frank, what about you? What was your grammar school or elementary school?
PS 73.
And that
As
was
a matter
in,
of fact, a lot of famous people went there. Hollywood stars, even Jackie Gleason graduated from
and that was in Brooklyn?
Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
Then I went to East New York Vocational High School, automobiles, about cars. I only went to the 5th term, and I quit because I was working in the butcher shop at the time, and I never had time to do anything.
Now, did most of your brothers and sisters
You
go to
know,
high school, or
Between you and me, I don't think there was one person in my mother's 9 kids that graduated from high school.
and Lily, what about your
We were
sisters?
so poor, we all
Same
had to go
thing.
to work to help support the
Right.
family, because my father did not work in the wintertime.
But was that unusual in your neighborhoods?
Yeah, not unusual.
Not unusual, there's a lot of, most kids did quit school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids though made it, they made it and they got big. There were a lot of, we were proud of a lot of the kids that got big in the neighborhood.
Now, Lily, what are your earliest school memories? Do you have any special memories of going to school?
Yeah, walking to school, how many miles, and the police officer was so nice. I think his name was Jim. He was an Irishman, but he loved the Italian kids, and he used to gather us together and make sure nobody would get out of the line when the light turned green for us to go. He was so nice. That's about it.
What about you, Frank?
I just thought of it. I thought of something very nice, but listening to her, I forgot what I had to say.
We'll come back to it then.
Yeah.
What about subjects? Did you like school, Lily? Did you have particular subjects you
I
liked?
liked it up to like going into the 4th grade because, as I said, I was so sick. And then when I didn't know what they were studying, you know, what they were talking about, and they used to call me stupid and everything else, and I used to cry. and it wasn't good. I was in and out of the classes.
And why were you sick, Lily? What kind of
Always
sickness?
with fevers, always with sore throats, and I used to get rashes all the time. I was a stupid kid.
Who was the healthiest in your family, of your sisters?
My sister Anna. Yeah.
I would say Lucille way much better.
Oh yeah, Lucille. But Lucille
Lucille.
had to stay with.
Lucille, strong as an
But
ox.
Lucille had to stay with my Aunt Mary because we moved so many times, and there was just no room for her, and the landlord didn't like the idea that she was there, and so she was. She talks about it today.
So Lucille didn't live with you growing up very much?
Right.
Okay.
I never heard that story, so
See what you can learn.
yeah.
Now, Lily, do you have any favorite relatives? Aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins?
Oh yeah, my cousin on my mother's side, her sister's family.
Any
It was,
particular names you remember?
Mary, and the two boys were Tony and Lenny. We really got.
Maybe your favorites?
Yeah.
They lived in Manhattan.
Frank, what about you?
Name, I tell you, I listened to it, I forget what the heck was going, but I had a good story. Now, what is this question?
Yeah, okay. First of all, your brothers and sisters. Who was
Oh,
this?
you're talking about school.
Yeah.
First of all, I never did good in school, but math, I was fantastic. Algebra in school, I always got the best marks. As a matter of fact, when I quit school in the 5th term, the algebra teacher came to my house and pleaded with my mother to keep me in school. She thought I was very proud.
So
of
did
that.
you like school then?
I
Because
always
of
liked
that?
school.
Yeah.
But you know, I was working in a butcher shop. Right from school, I went to the butcher shop and worked. It was only the high school was only about a half a mile away from where I worked in the butcher shop. So right from school, we got out of school at 3 o'clock. I walked right to the butcher shop, and I worked till 6:30 and took the train home. I never had much time for myself. So a lot of times I didn't do the homework but math I never even had to do. It just came so easy. But the rest of them did come easy.
Now, when you were in school, did you have any idea what you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you know you wanted to be a butcher?
No, I didn't like it.
What did you think you were going to do?
You know, I have no idea.
Lily, what about you? Did you have
I'm
any?
sure there was a million things, but I forgot.
What about you, Lil?
I wanted to be a dressmaker because
Oh.
my cousins, my aunt and her husband had a small little place, and I used to go and do some of the machine. Nothing fancy, you know, just straight with the machine, boom, boom, boom. Then I hated it all of a sudden because if I didn't do it straight enough, they used to get mad, and then I used to go home and cry. I didn't want to go back. So it was like get a few hours a day someplace, and that was about it. Cleaning for people, yeah.
Did you think you wanted to get married?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Frank? Did you want to get married?
I never gave it a thought.
So what, Frank? What was your
boys
first?
that age, you don't think about getting married. You're into sports and all kinds of junk.
So what was your first job? How old were you, and when did you get it?
Well, the first job, real good job, was when I was 14 years old at the butcher shop. My uncle was a baker, and he delivered bread to this butcher shop and grocery store. And they were looking for an order boy, and my uncle knew my family needed money. And my mother's famous words was to go out and get a job. So he got me the job. I went there, and it was about 5 miles away from my house. I had to take a train to get there.
And where was that? In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn, yeah.
Do you remember what part of Brooklyn?
It's City Line.
Oh, okay.
And it was not far from where I went to the school, high school.
And how long did you work there?
Till I was 18 years old and joined the Navy.
And then you joined the Navy. Lil, you never had a job, right? Lil, you didn't work outside of the house? Or did
like
you?
I said,
Was it
doing different things,
Uh-huh.
nothing steady.
Okay.
And factories that used to open up and then close down very fast was with doing, like I said, sheets, folding blankets and stuff like that. And maybe they used to always want to put me on the machine, but I hated it and I didn't want to do it, so I never got there. So it's easier to fold the clothes. That's what I did.
Let me ask you this question. For a lot of people who are hearing this, they don't know where you came from or what it looked like. So I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about it for a second. If you could look out your living room window from those days, in any of the houses you lived in from the time you were born until, let's say, you were a teenager, what would your view be if you looked out your living room window? Lily, you wanted to answer first?
Yeah, another house across the street. One of the homes at one of the places, which was my favorite, they had a lot, you know. A lot.
Uh-huh.
And we were able to get sleds. Even if I never had one, we would share it and go down the hill like that. That was fun.
And Frank, what about you? If you looked out your living room window, what did you see?
We never had a living room, number one, so we looked at the front,
Well, whatever the
front of the
front
house, the back of the house. Back of the house was nice. We had a nice backyard. My father built a nice house for us to play in. It was pretty. It was nice. We used to sit there at night and tell stories and everything about 6 or 7 boys and all that junk. And the front of the house was a Brooklyn street, big wide street. There's always something, but the block, or a big street, very long street. There wasn't 2 cars, 2 people in the whole block that owned an automobile or a truck. Only with my uncles, they had a truck, bakery, bread truck. And then one across the street from my house, there was one man with a small little baby, a young man, must have had a real good job. He had a car. That's it. And we used to play ball in the street. Very seldom we got interrupted with a car. The worst thing in the street was the dogs making their manure in the street. We had to clean it before we could play.
So could you describe what your neighborhood looked like to, say, a kid today who doesn't know what that is?
That my kids wouldn't know what it is, because even I don't know what it is.
So how could you describe it? I mean,
It looks, to me when I was a kid, it looked so big. And when I went back, say, 10 or 15 years ago, everything looked so small.
were the houses separate or were they all attached?
They were all attached. There was one house that wasn't attached. They had a fire there. And in between this 8-family house and this 3-family house, they had big beams like 4 by 8. In between the whole of the houses, both homes straight. And I had an aunt that lived in that house. And when it burned, she had a 3-month-old baby that burned in the house. And my aunt cracked up after that. She became an alcoholic and everything else because her baby was killed in the house.
Now, we're going to... Did you have something to say, Lil?
No.
Got something? Okay. We're going to move on a little bit now.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second.